Coach, it's Stanford week. What have you seen on film from the Cardinal?
Yeah, obviously, we're excited to get started. I mean, we've had a long time to kind of deal with last season and the disappointment that we had in that season, and a lot of changes have occurred in our program, and so we're excited to be able to go play this game and get a great test and find out where we are as a program. I think challenges are what kind of reveal football teams, and so we're going to play a 9:30 Central game. It's going to be late. Playing on the West Coast, 2 time zones away, all that kind of stuff is in some ways not ideal to start the season, but I think in this case it's probably exactly what we need. They'll have a good football team. I mean, Troy Taylor's a really good football coach, very smart guy. They're going to be, a disciplined team. They're going to play really hard. They're going to be a talented team. You just look at the recruiting classes historically that Stanford's had. I mean, it's a talented group. And everybody makes the biggest jump really when you're developing your program from year 1 to year 2 in most cases. And so I would anticipate this being a completely different team, a team that's going to play us with a lot of confidence. And one of the things, if you go and you pay attention to what their coaches and players are talking about, the one thing that you hear over and over and over again is physical. They're going to do what Stanford's done in the past, and that's try to play a very physical brand of football. College football, I think in some ways is changing. You look at the Georgia Tech, Florida State game, there's 14 possessions in that game. There used to be 14 possessions sometimes in a half of football. And so things are starting to slow down a little bit. My guess is, it'll be a pretty slow game. And, we're going to have to play at a very high level. It puts a lot of pressure on you when you have a limited number of possessions. You can't waste opportunities. You can't have silly penalties. You can't get behind the chains. We're going to have to play with a lot of discipline and a lot of focus and execute at a high level.
Coach, really talented receiver, number 13.
Yeah.
You guys approach guard him, especially with some of the injuries,
right? Yeah. He is very talented. You turn on the second half of the Colorado game last year, is really pretty remarkable performance. One of the best I've seen. Typically receivers don't take over games, and he just took that game over. And, most of those catches were on Travis Hunter, a corner that everybody says is going to be a first-round draft pick. And so very talented guys, got great size, really good speed, competes hard for the football when it's in the air. I think that's probably, you don't often see big, fast, and a guy that goes out and competes hard for the ball all the time. And those are the really special guys, and he's certainly a special receiver. So it'll be a big challenge for us.
Coach, the fear of the unknown, I can't imagine going into a first game just simply not know, what you're going to see out of a team. As a coach, how do you handle that?
Yeah, it's not ideal. I think the good thing is, you have an idea from, you get to see Stanford last year, and you have an idea kind of Troy and what he's going to do to an extent, but you're going to see something different. I mean, they're going to have made huge strides from year 1 to year 2 in terms of their package and how big it is and what they're confident doing, both offensively and defensively. I would expect to see a lot of different looks defensively than what we saw last year. And it's like anything else, you kind of put in the basics in year 1, and then you expand on that in year 2 and really build around your players. And so I would expect a bunch of new looks. I think we'll get the kitchen sink thrown at us. And, I'm a big believer that, game 1 and game 2 and in some ways game 3 is really just about yourself. I think you're really playing against yourself. And that's by limiting mistakes. You got to be really good in the kicking game. You can't make situational errors. You got to be solid. You got to protect the football. You can't have pre-snap penalties. All those things are really, really important to winning and losing, but they're even more magnified early in the season. And so, those are all areas really that come down to discipline and preparation. And I think we feel good about where we are right now. And the good thing is we'll know more on Friday night.
So you spent time at Cal, so you obviously understand Stanford
Yep.
their atmosphere. What advantage do you think that gives you as you prep your team?
Yeah, we've got a number of players, that played against these guys. Nana played against him when he was at Notre Dame. Caleb Orr played against him at Cal. And so I think those guys have done a pretty good job talking to their teammates about the environment and what that's going to look like. And, and I've been there a couple of times, hadn't had a whole lot of success there, but, it'll be a little bit different environment, but our guys, really great football teams don't worry about those kind of things. Their focus is on, going out and playing regardless if there's 150,000 people there or 25,000 or whatever the case may be. It's going to be really important for us to just go out there and focus in on doing our job and not worry about the circumstances or the environment.
Coach, what were your first impressions of Trey Sanders and what has he meant to this program last few years?
Yeah, Trey's obviously been through a lot. Had a severe accident when he was at Alabama. Came in as one of the top recruited running backs in the country, if not the most recruited, and just had a hard time staying healthy and came in last year and made some progress. And I think the big thing for Trey is he had an off season where he was healthy. I think it's the first time in his career that he had an extended opportunity to get in the weight room, to get on the grass and really develop as a player. And he's stayed healthy through fall camp, and I think it's made a huge difference in his ability to go out there and execute our offense. I would expect him to have a really good season. I think he's healthy, he's excited, he's much more confident than he was this time last year. He's very much more decisive in his running style and the way he attacks the line of scrimmage. And so I would anticipate him having a fantastic year.
Building off of that, you talked about Trey's health specifically. I know there's some injuries on the roster, but overall, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I think we're very healthy. I think for this time of year, coming out of fall camp and the physical camp that we had, we had a couple of injuries early. We had 3 pretty significant injuries in 5 days, and since then we've stayed remarkably healthy. And again, that doesn't happen by accident. That's investment in nutrition and doing things off the field the right way, rest and recovery, and our strength and conditioning staff, and then trying to modify our practice plans the best that we could to take care of our players. So we got to a good spot where we were able to have a really, really physical camp, but also go into this game, for the most part, healthy.
You touched on the kicking game. You've got a collegiate, or a punter and a kicker making their collegiate debuts.
Yep.
How do you best prepare them for what they're going to see right now?
Yeah, the good thing about Kyle Limmerman is, he kicked at Southlake, and that's about as big a high school program as you can kick in. Anytime you're starting somebody that's going to be their first college experience, you have concerns, but he's played on the very biggest stage, the Texas high school, championship games, and in the, AT&T Stadium, and all the things that guys need to do to kind of test themselves, he's done at a very high level. But he's still a young guy, still hasn't kicked in a college game. I think our players have tremendous confidence in him, just with what he's been able to do during fall camp. He's been very, very consistent, and you typically don't see that from young guys. You see more of kind of ups and downs, and you haven't really seen that from him. A day in, day out, you know exactly what you're going to get from him, and that's a real credit, again, to his preparation and his approach to being a kicker. Ethan Craw's different. This is going to be his first time to play American football ever that I'm aware of, and so we're trying to teach him what a touchdown is, and and the whole thing, and he's trying to learn how to figure out how to keep score and all that. But but he's had a really good camp. Same thing, for a young guy, you expect ups and downs, and he's been just incredibly consistent. Very talented, that group. Those guys are really, really good athletes. They're big guys. They're strong. They have tremendous confidence. They're well prepared. And I would expect them to both go out and play at a high level.
You guys released a depth chart earlier this week, Coach, and Jamal Johnson was the guy that kind of crept up and got the road. Can you talk a little bit about his development?
Yeah. Jamal is a young player that's very talented. That kind of goes back to what we're talking about, just consistency. And I think Jamal has learned now to focus on just daily improvement. I think sometimes as young guys, you get a little distracted and pay attention to stuff that doesn't really matter and doesn't make you a better player. And I think Jamal's got focused in now on what he's got to do every day to make himself better and our team better. Loved the way he played this fall camp. Was always around the football. To me, when you look at the guys that made plays in the secondary, he was always making plays. He was one of those guys that day in, day out was making competitive plays on the ball, was in the right spot, tackled well, did all the things that a safety's got to do. And, still learning to communicate at the level that he's got to communicate at. I mean, that's the one thing in college football, your linebackers used to be your communicators in the game, and now your safeties have to be like the quarterback. The middle linebacker for years was the quarterback of the defense, and still is to some extent, but those safeties have got to make a lot of calls. It's a different game now, and there's got to be constant communication going on. I think that's an area that he's grown in and improved in.
The guys that you expect to play Friday night, how many of them do you feel like you've got a good read on it?
You know what? A lot. Yeah. I think that's the one thing that I like about this team is there's a ton of experience. Now, some of it hasn't been here at TCU, but we were very mindful as we went in the portal and brought in players. Our intent was to bring in productive players, guys that had played the game, guys that were ready to play, and could be developed as well and improved, but had skins on the wall, and those guys all have those things. And so, you don't know how they're going to play at your level for your school, but you do have a track record of those guys playing college football and being successful playing college football. And that's what I like about that group. I mean, this is a very, very mature team, and that is typically a good thing. I think last year I wouldn't have been able to say that. I was concerned just about some maturity and we were going to rely on some guys that maybe hadn't done it before. And again, these guys, to me, I don't have those same concerns maybe that I had last year.
How much is Josh Hoover grown since the end of last season?
Yeah, I think Josh is one of those guys that it's hard to be a starting quarterback in the Big 12 and in Division I big time college football, and for a program that expects to play for championships. I mean, that's a lot for a 18 to 22-year-old kid to carry. The great thing about Josh is he's got really broad shoulders when it comes to that. I mean, he understands his role. He understands how important everything that he does and how he does that day in, day out, how it affects our team. He understands the leadership that he has because of his position, the responsibility that comes with it. He likes it. It's part of who he is. He's an incredibly consistent person, and I think that his performance will mirror his consistency. And so, I wish he had gone through spring ball, wish he would not have missed those reps, but, he's one of those guys that has really picked things up even more quickly than we anticipated. Took him a little bit to get going in fall camp, and you can see the last week to 10 days has really hit his stride. And, I think he understands what he needs to do to give us a chance to win. He doesn't need to go out there and be Brett Favre. He's got to go out there and manage the game, get the ball to the right guys, take risks, but he's got to take calculated risks and understand that, question, and always ask himself the question, is the juice worth the squeeze? And I think he understands when it is and when it's not. And again, that's a big part of playing that position.
So I'm thinking of big donation to the school today. I guess, what was the thing? Why was it so important for you and your family?
Well, it's something that Kate and I have been talking about for a long time now. We were just so excited to be here, so blessed to be here at TCU, and we feel like that this university has given us so much. This is just really special place. I mean, it's different. It's a unique university that that really takes care of its own, and I think that's what's so cool about the culture of TCU is it's a service culture. We chose to honor two people that have been really important to us personally. Obviously Jamal, I hired Jamal when I got the SMU job. He's a former TCU player. Jamal loved TCU probably as much as anybody I've ever met. When I was over there, I didn't really like him talking about TCU all that much, but he always did because he loved this place and it meant so much to him. He's got an incredible family. Rachel and his family, they're just people that, deserve to be honored. And as we started talking about this gift, we felt like he was incredibly deserving. Just what he represented, I think, is what TCU represents. I mean, he was about taking care of other people and service and giving back. And we felt like that it's something we could do to honor him. And then Shirley Ennis has just made a huge impact on us. And, she went out of her way to be so kind to Kate and I when we came over here to TCU. And there's nobody that's given TCU more than Hunter Ennis and his family. And, we wanted to do something for women's athletics. I think with the changing world today, it's going to be important for all of us to recognize that, if we want to keep the current model to provide scholarships and opportunities for women, that we're going to have to go out and we're going to have to give money. We're going to have to fundraise for these things. And we felt strongly about preserving women's programs and enhancing women's programs and opportunities. And so it was something that we wanted to do. And again, she was the perfect person that we could honor with that gift.
We'll go 2 more questions if you have them.
Your first game with your new coordinator, will he be upstairs or on the field?
Yeah, Andy will be upstairs. Yeah, upstairs. I think he's really comfortable up there, sees things, communicates well. I think it's been interesting. Obviously, we've done a lot of prep where we've had him in the press box and we've worked on all the different elements of sideline communication and substitutions and all the things. And, it's just gone incredibly smooth. He's got the thing that has been impressive about Andy from the very beginning with me, from the first conversation I had with him about joining the staff here, has just been his systematic approach. He's got a methodology. He's got a reason for doing things. The reason's never we've done it that way before. Everything is well thought out, well conceived. There's an emphasis on development and fundamentals. I think the success that he's had at programs that are developmental programs shows that he knows how to develop players and put them in positions to be successful and help guide them along their journey as they become older and better players. And, he's just got a very systematic approach. And so I was very, very impressed with the communication that occurred when we got into those situations during fall camp, and excited to see our guys play. I mean, I think our guys are hungry defensively. I think that they are, ready to go out and get a bad taste out of their mouth. And going to compete at a really high level. And I think they have a tremendous amount of confidence, in the scheme and the coaches, and most importantly in their teammates.
Will he and Kendall be the communicators?
Yes. Yeah, he and Kendall will be the communicators, yeah.
Thanks, Coach.